is the lifeblood of any soil, and it's oh so easy to make. Plus, you just need a simple composter like this to get started. Compost is basically decomposed organic matter, which you can use around the garden as a mulch to keep weeds down and lock water in, or as a soil conditioner and soil improver. Now, the general rule is that anything that once lived can be composted. But what are the secrets for success? Well, number one, add everything in moderation. Don't just chuck in one thing, especially something like grass clippings, all in one go, because they take an age to break down. Number two, try and alternate dry material with wet material in, say, 2-inch layers, because the two will help each other to break down. Number three, make sure that, well, as hard as it may be, that you don't pop your compost heap in the gloomiest part of the garden. If you can give it a little bit of sun, the heat will help the whole decomposition process. And number four, if you can, go in with a fork every once in a while, perhaps every 2 weeks, just to turn the compost and get some air into it, because again, that's useful to help everything break down. The time it takes to sort of produce gorgeous compost like this, well, depends on those factors, and also just what you add into the heap in the first place. It could be anything from 2 months if it's a really hot heap to 12 months if it's a colder heap. But top tip, you can add a compost activator to speed up the process. You just simply sprinkle it on and away the compost goes in double quick time. You'll find it in your local store. To get started tools-wise, you don't need very much at all, and you'll find everything you need in your local store. My advice is to start with, well, a few basics, and then you can add to your collection as your enthusiasm and the size of your plot grows. You're definitely going to need, right from the off, a spade and a fork for digging and cultivating. You're also going to need a garden rake for levelling the soil, and you're going to need a hoe for weeding. For harvesting and planting, a trusty trowel is essential, and for harvesting and pruning, you'll need a pair of secateurs. And don't forget, you might also want a pair of gardening gloves to protect those hands. When it comes to watering, a good watering can is essential, and because of course water is a precious commodity, you're going to need a water butt too. If you're growing in containers, well, you're going to need some pots, you're going to need some compost to go in them, and if you are thinking about using a multi-purpose compost, make sure it's peat-free, and not forgetting, of course, gravel to pop in the bottom for drainage. Now, when it comes to shifting things around the garden, plants perhaps, or crops that you've harvested, if it's a small plot, you can get away with just a builder's bucket. Anything larger, and I'd think about getting a good wheelbarrow too. Really is that simple. You can pretty much harvest fruit and vegetables for your garden no matter the time of year. So every single month there's something for the table. So starting in spring, we've got things like radishes, spring onions. We're then moving off into sort of late spring and summer with strawberries, rhubarb, fennel if you're lucky, garlic, and then we're off into autumn and winter with the root vegetables, things like carrots and parsnips, celeriac. Of course, leeks come then too, and so too gorgeous Savoy winter cabbage. Your garden is the gift that keeps on giving. For more information on how to start growing your own fruit and veg, see the other guides to getting started at the end of the film.